And empathy is beyond sympathy. Empathy, in my understanding anyway, is that I can step into your shoes for a while, that I'm willing to see the world from your perspective for a little bit and respond to you from that place, rather than try to make you see the world from my perspective or try to judge or put down your perspective. And I think that's a great example of that movement from, yes, we're all human, we're all part of one race, worthy of respect, and then we move into not only are we human, but I can see the world the way you see the world, if only for a little bit, and that does something to us as human beings.
When life throws a challenge at you, one thing is certain: to find a resolution for every issue, every problem, for everybody, there's more than one way. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to More Than One Way. Hey, Thom, how are you?
Doing good. Good.
Good. What's going on?
Well, I just got finished watching Spain and France playing the World Cup. Have you been watching the World Cup?
I have. It's been so much fun.
Yeah. What have you loved about it?
I'm a soccer guy, so I like soccer, but definitely, and I think, a lot of people have shared just the energy around the people being here and just enjoying celebrating their team and being together. And it's been a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah. Did you play soccer in school?
I did. Yeah.
Yeah. So what is offsides?
Offsides is the worst.
But what is it? I know what it is in American football. I just don't know.
Yeah, you have to have a person between you and the goalie when the ball is passed to you to be considered onside.
So a person from the other team.
Yeah, so if you're a step in front of somebody from the other team and between you and the goalie there's not another player, then you would be offsides when that ball is passed.
Gotcha. So. See, despite that I have to like read my phone every 2 or 3 minutes watching the game, I loved it. I've been loving it. It's just been so great. And I think, like you said, the energy around it, but and in addition to that energy is really just the way it seems that people from such different cultures and different countries have come together in celebration. Have you seen that? You know what I mean?
Well, and it's cool because, even here in Tennessee, the Spanish team was in Chattanooga and the Japanese team was in Nashville.
Right.
So, having those groups there, and they were kind of their host sites for them, it's just super cool. Just the way to see these little towns, around the country that have embraced these teams, like the one in Kansas with Algeria.
Yeah.
Where they just went all out and learned cheers and decorated their town. And you're like, what connection would they have at all other than just support? It's just really cool.
Well, yeah, where else are you going to meet somebody from Algeria, right? And so it just seems to show to me, like, when people meet people in that one-on-one, or group-on-group way, we seem to be able to connect. We seem to be able to not focus so much on the things that are different, that make us different, which there are those things, but recognize there are more things that we have in common, really, as humans than we don't. And that's what I love the most about the whole World Cup scene.
Well, and it was kind of neat because there seemed to be some energy around learning the traditions of the different people, whether it was, the Norway cheer or the Scots in Boston putting traffic cones on all the statues. And there were just these weird things that these teams do, but it was kind of endearing, just to see their expression. Versus, why would you do that? That's so stupid.
Yeah. And people were really accepting that, as opposed to, like you say, putting somebody down for it, or you're not doing it the right way, or whatever. And I think, so it got my mind into the whole spiritual world of, how do people come together? It's great. It's like somebody mentioned, it's like the Olympics, and we do it like around the Olympics, and like the World Cup, but how do we come together in a more day-to-day way, using things like the World Cup as a model, And so for me, the World Cup, the first thing that it showed me was, once again, people from different cultures, different skin colors, different genders, different religions. None of that got in the way of people seeing the other person, and this is a huge spiritual tenet, as a person. I mean, one of the ways I think sometimes that we can really disconnect from one another, not connect with each other, is if we dehumanize each other.
Mm-hmm.
And so one of the first things that we have to say, yes, that person might be different, might look different than me, might act different than me, might have different customs, but I can still see that person's humanity.
Mm-hmm.
And that's huge. It's just a huge thing. Just a giant gift to be able to see the other person as a human, and not as an opponent only.
And I think I was thinking about those. I used to see them in like magazines when I was a kid, where they'd have the two pictures and they'd be like, spot the differences.
Oh, yeah.
It'd be like the same. There'd be little things that were different, and I think, we have that kind of bias toward differentiation,
Mm-hmm.
and looking, just quickly seeing what's different, and what's changed. And, I mean, even gamifying it a little bit, and I think it's hard to set that aside.
Yeah, it
And
is.
to embrace something different with the idea of what's the same.
Yeah. Have you ever come across something like that, and people were able to look past it and see the human?
When I was in college, I worked in did an internship, and I lived in an international community.
Yeah.
And it was very divided by the country groups, kind of gathered and kind of just stayed together until on July 14th, the French group, in celebrating Bastille Day, overthrew the apartment building 14 and threw everybody out, and then just had a party in the building. And it was this kind of thing that it was really unsettling, but at the same time, it was so fun and so just like, what is happening here?
Right.
And that really just like broke loose, people kind of interacting together and learning what was going on. And it was just one of those things that just kind of happened out of the blue. Nobody was expecting it.
Right.
But it really changed. Everybody's like, we're all here, we're having a good time, we're working, but this is fun, and we can, interact versus kind of staying in our separate areas.
So once again, it's like we're all people.
Yeah.
We're part of the human family. Once we have more in common, even if it's started with something like Bastille Day.
Yeah.
Our commonality is celebrating, like once again in the World Cup, and in that.
Yeah.
That's a great starting point for who we are as humans. We have to see each other as humans, regardless if we're from France or England or Spain or whoever.
Mm-hmm.
But I also was remembering a story, and help me out with it. You remember the story that our friend was telling us?
I do, yeah. She was talking about a recent experience at her church where a gentleman with two young kids had come in to visit, and just her interaction with that gentleman, and just it was a challenging interaction, but just kind of how that went and how she kind of navigated.
Yeah, and what I remember him walking in is, and all churches kind of have a dress code, as it were.
Yeah.
And he did not live up to the dress code.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like it.
Yeah, he definitely had on going out to get the mail T-shirt.
Yeah.
Right? Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so there's that, right?
Yeah.
This could get in the way, but...
And, obviously, like anybody would, he was trying to scope the place out a little bit, kind of get a feel for what's going on here, what do you guys like?
Yeah.
And as he learned a little more, it sounded like maybe his initial hesitancy came up when he learned that a female was going to be preaching that day.
Right. Okay.
And he wasn't sure how he felt about that.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I remember her saying, he said something along the lines of, not too sure about having a woman preacher.
Yeah.
So, yeah, right. And what was the response? It wasn't, to heck with you.
No, I think it was just, well, why don't you just stay?
Give it a try.
Give it a try.
Yes,
you don't have to come back.
That's what
just
it was.
Give it a try and see what it's like.
Yes. Give it a try. See what you think.
Yeah.
And he stayed. Something else happened, right?
Yeah, I think just as he was continuing to ask more about the group and what they were like and what their beliefs were, the person shared with him that they were open and affirming.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure that he understood what that meant.
Right.
So they kind of continued that conversation, and eventually a person said, well, we're accepting of gay people here.
Right.
So, and I think that threw him for a little bit of a loop.
Yeah. I think, you're sparking my memory. I think I remember she said, and he had this total look of sincerity, confusion and sincerity on his face. And he said, well, just because you're open to gay people, does that mean that you're going to try to turn my kids gay?
Yeah.
And he said it like this could possibly happen one Sunday. Right. Yeah. And once again, the response from the church people, what I remember is, no, we just love everybody.
We just love everybody. Yeah.
And so once again, with the same kind of refrain of, just give it a try. Just stay, just stick around. And I think from the spiritual perspective, this moves us closer into the world, not just seeing each other as humans, but closer into the world of empathy. And empathy is beyond sympathy. Empathy, in my understanding anyway, is that I can step into your shoes for a while, that I'm willing to see the world from your perspective for a little bit and respond to you from that place rather than try to make you see the world from my perspective or try to judge or put down your perspective. And I think that's a great example of that movement from, yes, we're all human, we're all part of one race, worthy of respect, and then we move into not only are we human, but I can see the world the way you see the world, if only for a little bit. And that does something to us as human beings, to us and for us. And I think that's a great example of that. I mean, it really is. It's so easy sometimes to respond quickly and sometimes without thinking about where the other person's coming from. And,
especially when somebody might say something that would be shocking in a certain environment. Versus kind of but as someone coming in new, I mean, he doesn't know the environment. Obviously, he was trying to figure out what it was, and had some feeling of wanting to make sure it was a good experience for the kids that were with him. But just the fact that you could take the time to think about it that way. What I'm saying is oftentimes when, at least me, when life is moving real fast and I'm not taking the time, then I'm just reacting. And I'm reacting to, surely you don't think that's the way gay people come about. That's what I'm thinking in my mind. Right? But the empathetic thing is, we just love everybody. In a sense, you don't have to worry about that. Not ridiculing, not putting down. And once again, we're trying to look at this through the spiritual lens of how do we connect? How do we come together as human beings? We get lots of examples of how we split. Right? And it's on the news every night. And for me personally, I think we live in that so much that it's like a breath of fresh air to find anywhere where that's the opposite of that's happening. Sure.
And that's why I think it's so important to talk about it and to highlight it, to show it. That's why the World Cup is so important. That's why this story is so important, both your story and...
Because it can get easy to just feel the other way is the only way. And just with as much as we're surrounded by it, just to think that's just the way things are.
This is just the way it is. This is just the way people are.
And when you get there, then your first instinct can be, I'm going to protect myself from that. Which leaves us closed.
I'm going to put people down. I'm going to ridicule. I'm going to get my way. I have to be right. On and on and on and on. Right? And I think, for me anyway, that moves us, to me, further into, okay, well, what does it mean to be human? We're all human. We're all that. If we take the time, we can see life from each other's perspective, if only just for a little bit. We don't even have to agree if we don't want to, but we can do it. But then there's more, I think the spiritual traditions say. And in the Christian world, it comes out in the line, love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, and mind, and love your neighbor as yourself. Love your neighbor as yourself. And for what some people will think about love your neighbor as yourself is try real hard to like people or at least care about people who you don't really like all that much. Well, try really hard to at least be decent to other people.
Yeah.
And that's really, from my perspective, not the deepest part of what that line, love your neighbor as yourself, is trying to get at. For me, it really is, the school that would say it really is, my neighbor is myself. When I see my neighbor, I see myself.
Yeah, say more about that.
Well, from the perspective of the spiritual world, it's the deepest part of who I am comes from the same place as the deepest part of who you are. My deepest self, or some people call your true self, some people call your Christ nature, your Buddha nature, that deep part of myself comes from the same source as the deep part of yourself. And so in that way, we're connected. We're one. We're the same. And so another way to put it would be, well, the Hebrew Bible puts it as we are the image of God. And so the way I would put it is, each of us in our own way, and I would say all life in its own way, is on some level of manifestation of that one source that we call God. And that one, there's a bit of that in each of us, and that's that deep part. And that's what I can see of me and you.
Yeah.
Right? So it's not something that I create or you create. I think it's something that's innate to being human. I read somebody who put it this way: love your neighbor as yourself. See the other person as yourself. It can also be seen this way. Awaken to the truth that your deepest self and your neighbor's deepest self share the same divine source. And that from that source, from that place, that's where love flows. So loving your neighbor as yourself isn't like trying real hard.
It's already there.
Yeah, it's there. And if you can open up to that, if I can open up to that in me, then I'll see it in you. And then it'll just come. The love will just come. It'll flow. Yeah, so that's the love your neighbor as yourself, to me, at its deepest level.
Yeah.
All these other things are a part of it too. Seeing each other as humans, recognizing our own common humanity, finding places of empathy, there's a story, actually a story that a friend sent about these two little girls.
Oh, yeah.
Remember that?
I do, yeah.
Well, tell it.
There were two young girls. They were being interviewed, I believe, and they were the same age and went to school together, and they called themselves twins. One of them was African American and the other one was white. But they were talking about, to the interviewer, they were like, well, we're twins, see, because we're about the same height as each other. We're twins because we like the same things. And they were sharing that some people had tried to tell them that they weren't twins, but they were wrong, that they were twins.
Right.
And they followed up on the girls. I guess they were turning maybe 13 or something. They had a birthday much later, and just to kind of see how their lives had been. And they're interviewing their mothers, and their mothers had really supported their connection with each other. And we're talking about, at some point, it got a little meaner with people telling them, you're not twins.
Yeah.
And one of the girls said, no, we are, because we share the same soul.
Yeah.
And just what an amazing response from a young person to recognize exactly what you're talking about, with the idea that source we share is the same.
Yes.
And for them, that was bigger than everything else that somebody might have pointed to reasons why they weren't. It's, no, we know we are.
Yeah.
Everyone else is wrong.
Yeah.
Because we have this.
Yeah. So it's not like a theory. It's not like something that they believe in their mind. It's a deep sense of experience of the other.
Yeah.
And I think that's true. I think that's true across humanity. I really do. So they become, to me, kind of like micro versions of the World Cup.
Yeah. And it's different, thinking about loving your neighbor and trying really hard to say someone's your twin that's a very different expression of that, with the idea. I mean, like, that's what you're saying, where you're me.
That's right.
You know, we're the same.
That's right. But once again, and I think that's the depth of love your neighbor.
Yeah.
I really do. I mean, I think that, you know, you are allowed to stop wherever you want on that depth climb downward into what it means to be human. If love your neighbor for you means I'm just going to see my neighbor as a human like me, or as a human period, and so therefore worthy of respect, boy, that's way better than most.
Yeah.
But if you want to keep going, our spiritual traditions would say, then you'll find things like empathy. Mm-hmm. And once again, empathy isn't asking you just to see us as part of the same race. It's asking you to see life from the other person's perspective, especially somebody different from you.
Right.
And then if you go further, then it goes to where these little girls just seem to be innate with each other. Mm-hmm. To that place of, you're me and I'm you, and I got that.
Yeah.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the More Than One Way podcast, brought to you by the Center for Spiritual Practice in Knoxville, Tennessee. We really appreciate your time and would love to hear your feedback. You can reach us by emailing hello@morethanonewaypod.com, or you can connect with us on social media using the handle @morethanonewaypod. If you found this episode helpful, we hope that you'll share it with your friends, with your family, with people you work with all the people who you know. Thank you, and take care.